Okay, so part three, grounds for issuing search warrant. So there has to be at least one affidavit that is subscribed to in order to have a search warrant issued. There has to be at least one. There can be several, but the primary affidavit has to be identified, and then the remaining affidavits have to be given in a sequential number. So you would have your primary affidavit and then supplemental affidavit number 2, supplemental affidavit number 3, so on and so forth, until you have all of your search warrant affidavits in a line there. Of course, the affidavits have to be sworn to, either sworn as an oath or an affirmation. So, generally the judge will say, officer, raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear that the information contained in this affidavit is true and correct to the best of your knowledge, and this is your true and correct legal signature, so help you God? And then you say, I do, yes, sir, yes, ma'am, whatever the case may be. However, sometimes, and the wording there, I'm not entirely sure. I never really pay attention to what the judge is saying at that point, because I know it's basically my tailpipe if I'm wrong. But I also know that the information contained in the document is true and correct to the best of my knowledge. But the true and correct to the best of your knowledge and this true and correct legal signature, that's the oath that I have you swear to whenever I notarize something for you. But as opposed to, do you solemnly swear that the information contained in this affidavit is true and correct? The judge might say, do you solemnly affirm that the information contained in this affidavit is true and correct? So it's kind of the difference. And the reason why you may be wondering why we have swearing an oath or an affirmation is because the word swear is actually a bit of a problem for some people on religious grounds. And so there was a Supreme Court case sometime a while back. I believe it was in the 90s or so, the 1990s. But basically, the Supreme Court ruled that requiring all people to swear to an oath is unconstitutional under the freedom of religion. And so they offered the opportunity for affirmation, which is also contained in the Fourth Amendment. So the framers of our Constitution recognized a long time ago that would be an issue, but it didn't really become an issue until here recently. So then we come to the sufficiency of the factual allegations, which says that there has to be a fair probability that contraband or evidence of a crime will be found in a particular place. And that comes from the Supreme Court case of Illinois v. Gates. And as you see there, that's again a criminal case because Illinois is a state that is a governmental subdivision. So we're talking about a criminal case there. And so basically what the thing is, as I've told you before, probable cause, a good working definition that I teach all of my trainees is this crime probably happened. This person probably did it. That's good probable cause work for articulating that somebody should be arrested. For probable cause on a search, this crime probably happened and this evidence probably exists at this location. And so you have to explain that. And then you have the particularity requirement of the particular place and the particular evidence. So we'll move on now. There's also staleness concerns. What happens if the information that you're putting into the warrant becomes stale? Basically, as soon as you have what you believe to be sufficient evidence to get you across the probable cause goal line on a search warrant, don't wait it out. Get yourself in there, write the search warrant, get to the judge, get it signed, go execute it. Um, so, yeah. There also has to be the truthfulness of the affidavit, and the Supreme Court case of Franks v. Delaware. Excuse me. Franks v. Delaware is a case that we'll discuss a little bit more in depth as we move along. But the information contained in the affidavit has to be truthful in the sense that the information put forth is believed or appropriately accepted by the affiant as true. Okay, so I mean, people will tell us their entire life story. Does it matter? No. Only what is true and correct and applicable needs to be included there. One of the times that I find that it's most annoying with people telling me their entire life story is whenever I'm working a domestic, and then the thing is all of these 49 other domestic violence issues where the victim has been victimized by the suspect and all of this, and I'm like, look, stop. I care, I do, but I need to know right now what happened today that led to me being called here to deal with you. Okay, so that's what we're talking about here with the staleness and the truthfulness of the affidavit. We need current and reliable information included into that warrant. Okay, items subject to seizure. Now, this is actually a very interesting little tidbit for you. So, seizure of evidence on a search warrant is limited to non-testimonial evidence. So, tangible items, okay, physical evidence. Now, that physical evidence may be small. It might be epithelial cells from the inside of a defendant's cheek so that we can test DNA later, but it is still non-testimonial physical evidence, okay? And the reason why we're limited to non-testimonial physical evidence on a search warrant is because of the Fifth Amendment right to be free from self-incrimination. Okay, and that's where we talk about personal papers and business records there. If you're running a Ponzi scheme, or you have in your possession certain papers and business records reflecting that Ponzi scheme, and I send you a subpoena, you can reject the subpoena on Fifth Amendment grounds that providing me with that information is a violation of your right to be free from self-incrimination. But the Supreme Court has said if I bring a search warrant to your house and tell you step aside and I go and get the papers for myself, then I have complied with the Fourth Amendment's requirements of a search warrant, and I have also not caused you to be in violation of your Fifth Amendment right to be free from self-incrimination. The other thing to make note of here is that seizures must aid in particular apprehension or conviction. Okay, so the thing is this stuff has to lead to somebody getting arrested, or if they've already been arrested, it has to help lead to gathering information that's going to get a conviction. Okay, so somebody's got records in their cell phone, and I need those, and I've already arrested them and seized their cell phone. It's going to help me get those records out of their phone. That's going to help me convict them. Or it might be, if it's prior to an arrest, it might be what helps me get to the point of being able to arrest them. But the seizures from a search warrant must aid in a particular apprehension or conviction.